window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse from Marfoogle News. Where are you?
The president is MIA. The Middle East is popping off. China is knocking on NATO's doorstep with warships. And, of course, we have deployed B-52s near Russia. And now we have 500,000 troops at high readiness. The world is on the brink of major instability, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is all going to be on tonight's episode of Marfoogle TV. The Israeli military said that it had intercepted a missile fired from Yemen early Sunday, and of course hours after, Israeli warplanes struck several Houthi targets in the Arabian Peninsula country. The Israeli airstrikes in response to a deadly Houthi drone strike in Tel Aviv were the first time that Israel is known to have responded to repeated Houthi attacks throughout its 9-month conflict against Hamas. The burst of violence between the distant enemies has threatened to open a new front as Israel battles a series of Iranian proxies across the region. The Israel Army late Saturday confirmed the airstrikes in the western Yemeni port of city of Hodeidah, a Houthi stronghold and crucial entry point for aid and other supplies. It said that the strikes, carried out by dozens of aircraft, including U.S. F-15s and F-35 warplanes, were a response to hundreds of Houthi attacks. Remember, this wasn't just about the drone attack. They're saying this is because of hundreds, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. We're going to talk about this and the 500,000 troops on readiness in just a minute. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I'm not going out there where apocalypse from Marfoogle News. Where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Today, we've got a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so if you want a bibliography of all of our sources, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com. You can actually find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. All you have to do is look for today's thumbnail on our main website. Once you click on that, you'll find a full list of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. All right, now let's get into it. I do want to say hi, Christina Potato Flesh. Thank you so much, saying hello. So many more. Creamy Goodness said you sent an email to Dex. I just sent a reminder to check on that. So again, we'll make sure that that's looked at. And then Nanny Anderson, Mitchmouth, iPod Oblivion. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys that have been here since the beginning. Speaking of which, there was actually a comment I wanted to cover real quick. Nettie, thank you. Appreciate that. Said, I've been watching. Haven't missed a show in 3+ years. Changed my name from Nettie 2550. Nettie, for RB Bio. Thank you. Your new name's a little bit harder, but thank you so much for not missing a show. And then I don't know. I reread an older comment too, and I just wanted to say, I'm praying for you, our Bobby Burns Fat. I know that you guys just lost the father in your family, to your kids and everybody else. I hope that you're doing well, and I'm praying for you. And then Trilicit and so many more. Thank you guys for being here and supporting our independent channel. Everybody that hits the like button and shares us out, that is so much appreciated. You don't even know. A lot of you, again, every time a YouTuber tells me to thumbs up, I'm like, yeah, it's hard to even do it. I don't know why it's such a thing. Like if somebody tells me to do it, I don't do it. So if you guys want to tell other people to do it, that helps. I never end up doing it. So thank you guys. All right. And then let's bring in my co-host, internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's, first of all, so Israel, everything that's going down right now, this is of course taken back seat to JB stepping down, to the IT outage. While this is all going down, the Middle East is popping off. That drone, that single drone, which again defied all of the different protection systems, the David Sling, the Arrow system, and the Iron Dome, somehow this drone got underneath. They first said it, I believe it went along a water channel and it went super low. Then it came up and hit. Well, that drone, which they showed a picture of a single wing, was apparently a late strike. And because of that, they have now responded. The country's responses to this in all of the Middle East countries have been fiery. And there's a lot more than what the news is even showing you, because the news is devoting most of their time to JB dropping out or whatever's going on with that. So this could be a very big deal. Dex, go ahead.
Well, in addition, the other crazy thing, this is heated up there in the Middle East. Netanyahu just landed. He is here in D.C. He was here to meet with our president, who is not going to meet with him now for various reasons. I think we all know why. And then even the VP decided not to attend his speech to Congress, which is about to happen. And now at the last second, there's a little bit of a scramble going on saying that she may be trying to meet with him privately later if it's available. So he flew all the way here to meet with our president and to talk to Congress, obviously looking for support, I would assume, in what's about to be escalating there. I mean, everything is heated up. It's about to go off. And where is our administration? I mean, we're kind of like, our country is sort of like in this weird situation right now with enemies potentially bearing down on our allies, where we're supposed to be, able to jump in and deal with it. And I think that we're going to get taken advantage of during this period of weakness that we're showing. That's what's so scary. But he's here. He landed. He's supposed to talk to Congress. I think he's even going to meet with T-Man because he said he couldn't find anyone else to meet with.
I doubt right now, out of all of the times, UKR visits and they hold up his flags. You got Pelosi and everybody going, look at their flag. Is that going to happen now? I highly doubt it with how social media is reacting to all of this. What is going on with the president in general is really, really crazy. First of all, there's a lot of crazy theories out there, and that is because a lot of things really are just not sitting well with people. The way that it was released that he was stepping back had some missing things. Everybody's pointing that out. The letter that was posted on X essentially stating it did not have a seal on it. It did not have what some say is a correct signatory. So some people are believing that he is still like, I want to be, and they're like, nope, you're not going to be. The quickness in which they flipped over, obviously, they're going to say later, well, we knew at this point and they've been planning for this, because within 24 hours, even if you look at Kamala, right, which I thought, I mean, they have whole teams that find this stuff or that do the artwork and the stuff for this. When you go to her... Wait, no, hold on here. Oh, there's an actual separate one. Yeah, so they've already have this up, the Kamala Harris one, and it's Let's Win This Harris for Press. Now, who is going to be her VP if this ends up somehow miraculously working out? Now, again, this happened after the letter. The letter, a lot of people have some weird stuff about. And then, of course, they just had him on the phone. And there's a video that's been going around that, of course, says she goes, I'm glad we have you on the phone call. And a lot of people are taking that as she accidentally almost did a Freudian slip and let people know. So people are, of course, have some crazy rumors that the guy may not be at all. But again, we don't know what's going to end up happening with this, with the Prime Minister of Israel here. I mean, this is kind of a big deal. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and just real quick update on her. They're claiming that she has the delegates now, at least on her side. Enough of them have chimed in that she would, if it was held this moment, it would happen. But we still got a lot of time between now and the DNC. And the DNC is when they'll have this open process to actually make her the official. And that could change. Like, the whole world could change between now and then. So everything is just really weird. It's the weirdest I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Apparently, she's fighting these people, wife and Mamala. That's from, what was that, Drew Barrymore on The Drew Show, saying, like, you're not only Kamala, you're Mamala. Oh, man. What a crazy, crazy time we are living in. It's a show. Grab your popcorn. It is only going to get better and worse at the same time. Okay, and then Chinese ships are now sailing into NATO Lake. This is in addition to all of the Russian ships that were just spotted, the Russian submarines that have been popping up not only here, but on the other side in, I always forget the name of that, the one up here. Which one is that? That one's over here. The Isle of Man, or what is that area called? Dex, do you remember? The area up here. Either way, between, of course, United Kingdom and Ireland. So they've had all of these crazy sightings. Submarines on both sides over the last month have been popping up, basically flexing their muscles. Now you have Chinese Navy ships sailing into NATO Lake. Why? Again, people are kind of getting concerned because of the time frame. Most of myself and others believe that this is all going to go down before 4 months from now, before that happens, before all of this kind of goes down. And the reason why is all of the stops have been pulled at this point. But a pair of Chinese Navy ships were escorted into the Baltic Sea by NATO vessels on Saturday local time as they steamed towards Russian city of St. Petersburg for this year's Navy Day celebrations. Footage of a live bridge camera captured the moment Danish patrol boat led the Chinese destroyer Jizao fleet oiler Hong Hu against Denmark's islands, according to an ex-post by ship spotter Marcus Johnson. And it says, a few minutes ago, 2 large warships escorted a Danish Navy patrol boat entered Baltic Sea. Chinese, ? Will try and ID, happy for the help. Closer photos are below. So let's take a peek at this. I'll load it up. And ID'd as 2 Chinese ships. Uh-oh. Something went wrong there. Oh, it's down. So again, we've linked that over on our website. You guys can go see that there. But again, if you've got Chinese ships in NATO Lake for, I guess, the Navy Day celebrations, could they be there for any other reason? Now, this is at the same time that NATO has 500,000 troops at high readiness amid what they are calling the Russian threat. Now, mainly, people are focused on JB, on, of course, our former president's attempt, on the congressional hearings, which have turned into a literal circus. People screaming, swearing, and calling names, putting on full-on performances, basically saying that this woman at Secret Service should resign, but yet she doesn't have to, and they're not firing her for some reason. Again, this whole thing just looks absolutely fishy as all heck. If there's any fishing boats out there in NATO Lake, they would probably be picking up half of these stories here. But Dex, do you want to talk about the 500,000 troops that are on readiness right now?
Well, NATO is holding 500,000 troops at the high readiness level to guard against the looming risk of war with Russia, as they say. This is coming from the alliance's top spokesperson. They've undergone the most significant transformations in our collective defense in a generation, they say. We've put in place the most comprehensive defense plan since the Cold War, with currently more than 500,000 troops at high readiness. So we keep seeing this number. At one point, they were supposed to have 300,000, and they had a hard time getting there. Then they got there. Now they're at 500,000. This number is growing and growing. Now, we just reported last week, they have plans to be able to shift 800,000 troops through the corridors, especially in Germany and other locations, as this war in Europe escalates with Russia. So it's not just that they have 500,000 on high readiness. They also expect an injection of up to another 800,000 in less than a month's time when things kick off. So if you don't think that what they're doing here is preparing for a coming conflict, then you're not paying attention, because that's exactly what they're doing. They've got, a third of NATO military members have some form of compulsory military service, which we're going to talk about a little later. But this and other actions that we've been doing are all just leading up, and all this stuff is sort of not being talked about. Everybody's too worried about what's going on in the political spectrum, or even with the current administration and the strength of America, which is all valid. We should be looking at that. But all this stuff is actually also happening behind the scenes when nobody's paying attention right now.
And as far as all of these different countries that have either upped their required time, mandatory time, or suggested conscription time, I don't think there's any of them that are suggested. But as far as that goes, now they're planning. The framework is being put up. They have actually put out written plans and actual maps of where everybody is going to go through. As Dex mentioned earlier, there is an actual map that shows where they are going to clear space and have everybody roll through. They have actually come up with the actual routes that they are going to go through all these countries to go to war. So, again, people need to wake up. This is happening, and I think that it got cemented when that whizzed right by the ear. I think that was cemented in, because now there is no other there's no other cards. So the cards have been played. The last card that was supposed to kind of, in my opinion, supposed to really seal everything up, was quite a failure. So something else is happening right now, and as a prepper, I hope that people are heeding this message, and a lot of you guys have been sending emails over the last week, because a lot of the things we talked about 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago, now those things are coming to fruition. And that is not just because of this channel, it's because of this community and our peers. Everyone is on the same page. Everything that we all saw coming has now come. And now we're at the last kind of end game right now. We are in end game. This is a serious message. I hope and I'm praying that a lot of you have been heeding this message before, that you've been prepping for 3 or 4 years now. But people like Nettie, who haven't missed a show in 3 years, Nettie, I hope you and your family, and I hope Barbie Burns Fat, and I hope Zenwin, and all these people that have been watching every day, I hope that you took it slow. We told you, like, you had time. You do $5, $10 a week on prep. Go to the food bank if you have to. Again, get all these things done. Print up paperwork of things that you might need to know. Print stuff while you can, while you have an internet to actually use. Because if all of this stuff does go down, the first thing they would do is take out communications. And by they, I don't know who they is at this point. They say it's going to be Russia, or now it's going to be Iran. Whoever it is, when that internet, all this stuff goes down, that's going to be the first to go. Communications, and keep everybody separated and completely in the dark. Speaking of which, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. This is a device we've been recommending for years, that if you don't know already what this does, it actually can protect you and your cars, your vehicles, your generators, your homes, of course, your boats, RVs, pretty much anything with a motor or an engine or electronics that you want to protect. You want to have an EMP shield on. It grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before a CME, or a Carrington level event from the sun, or an EMP attack will hit your stuff. So again, this is an incredible device. It will end up saving lives, I guarantee it, because people being able to get home or get out means the difference of living or perishing in scenarios. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only are you getting a $50 off discount with this, but you're also helping this independent channel. All of our affiliates, ones that we hold on to for years, these are all our actual recommendations. These are all things that we believe are either going to help save your life, that are going to make your life easier during a disaster, or keep you living. That is straight up, every one of them is something incredibly useful that you're going to get a discount and help us at the same time. Go to marfuglenews.com/EMP, code MARF. And remember, you can do this. You don't need a mechanic. It takes 10 minutes to put in your vehicle. It's very simple. It means the difference of getting home to your family or not getting home, unless you're a good walker. And then let's see here. Now let's go into Russia. Scrambles fighter jets after U.S. bombers approach the border. Dex, let's talk about Moscow and what's going on there.
Okay, so in two sides on the story, really interesting. One, Russia scrambled jets. Two, we had B-52s flying in this area. Okay, we put them up. These are the part of our triad of nuclear capabilities. They were, I think, flying near Finland. They were also coming in. They were coming in the Barents Sea up there, which is way north. It's up in the Arctic area. Eventually, by the way, for what it's worth, these are actually on their way to Romania, a base in Romania where they're going to be stationed for a while or operate out of for a while, called the base is known as MK to the forces that are deployed there. So interesting things when we talk about the movement of equipment. We talk about the introduction of new stuff like the B-52 not being new, being old, but also being very capable. I mean, this is a massively large plane. It can carry some of the biggest amounts of payload. They even talked in the past about taking it out, and they say it's such a great plane, they're going to keep it for another 50 years because they've basically renovated these planes with engines and everything and updated them. They're great outside of not being super stealthy. But they have a huge payload, and they're probably one of the biggest as far as what it can potentially yield as far as damage goes to another country. And now they're flying in the region, and they're flying so close that Moscow is having to scramble its jets to make sure it escorts it and keeps it away from their territory or their economic zones.
And this is something that's happened so many times off Alaska or off the East Coast. We've had this happen to us a million times. We've had to chase off Russian jets and bombers. Florida, I believe, too. This very, very rarely happens to where we have bombers doing, possibly practice runs or drills, and then they are chased off, and that Russia is scrambling jets. Everything is flip-flop. It's opposite day. You've got, of course, Russian ships last month visiting Cuba and Havana right next to Guantanamo Bay. I mean, this is all... These are all clear signs that everything is getting prepped. All of the written agreements between all of the countries, all of our adversaries are now meeting with each other. They're all face-to-face meeting. Those face-to-face meetings mean something. Those are meetings where they are going behind closed doors and they are physically making plans. They're handing over papers. This is what we are going to do. This is how we're going to do it, and this is when. Not to mention here in the United States, of course, very crazy stuff going on here. Summer is when all of our decisions are made. It's because all of the meetings and where they all get together, all of the people at the very top get together. And it's like you see instant. Every summer we see this right before this all goes down. Every summer we see all of this action. I've been covering it for 6 years now. Every summer is when everything starts kicking off. The news cycle goes nuts. All of the events start happening. It's like they give us a break for the holidays and then go right back into it. It's almost like everything's on purpose or something, or that it's all scripted. You know? Putin's ally in Europe says NATO is preparing for war much faster. So the Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said Monday that he believed NATO member states were rapidly preparing for a potential war with Russia. Says, quote, "They are not ready now, but I think that they will be ready. They are already preparing for a conflict with the Russian Federation, and they're preparing much faster than some people would like to see in every sense." Vučić told the Serbian TV channel Pink, according to Russia's state-run news agency TASS. Says, quote, "We know this from military preparations. We know how they are being conducted, and I want to tell you, they are preparing for a military conflict." I mean, this is clear as day to all of us. But again, media, especially our own Western media, is telling us everything is fine. They're saying, look at this, look over here. Meanwhile, the rest of the world in Europe is being straight up. They're telling their citizens to get ready for war. Meanwhile, we're being told that prepping is crazy, that if you think something is about to go down, you're a cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Only Cocoa Puffs, probably not the best prep food, but heck, if you are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, go ahead. Buy some Costco, get about 50 boxes of them. This is the time. Dex, as far as it's coming from TASS's side and Russian state media, but at the same point, this is what we actually believe is going down. Like I don't think this is even Ganda. I think it's just a fact.
I mean, you can just watch everything we've reported on NATO for the last, I don't know, month and a half. You can just see it. It went from 300,000, 200,000 to 300,000, 300,000 to 500,000, roadway for 800,000, another country doing a roadway for 500,000, making sure they can pump everybody in, all of the equipment being moved in, F-16s going in, now we've got B-52s in the area. I mean, we're moving nukes. We said we're going to put nukes and put cruise missiles into Germany. NATO is requesting more nukes and requesting to flaunt and show off the nukes that they have. All of this stuff is all happened in the last couple of months. There's nothing Ganda about this. This guy's talking, he's just reading the headlines and he's saying the same thing. He's like, yeah, look at them. They're preparing for a major conflict and they're doing it super fast. And that is absolutely what I see and what I believe when I look at and read between the lines of everything we've reported and we've watched day after day after day.
What's crazy is that who is moving faster than us? Dex, who would you say, what country is moving even faster than us? You probably could have two answers there. But
you have to, but China for sure.
China for sure.
And Russia's been moving really fast.
Yeah, well, they're currently in a war, so it makes sense that they're pumping up production like crazy. We know this. There's actual white papers that have come out. The Pentagon has released that they confirm Russia is producing. What was it? Was it 20 times the amount of artillery? It was like 20 times the artillery that we make in a year, but they're making it in a month or something like that. So they've basically turned on all of their factories. They've turned other factories that made other things into wartime factories. That's, I mean, what we would do. That's what we did in World War II and World War I. You turn a Q-tip factory into a bullet factory. This is exactly what's happening in Russia. They are already primed up. Their industrial machine is going. Ours is now getting going. China's been going. They are building ships like no other. There was just a comment by a Chinese official the other day stating that they believe that not only are they set to and able to take on the U.S., but they said that their production and their capabilities are far past the U.S. as far as naval building. So the Navy is an extremely important part of a war, and they know this. They are, and they even said their intentions are clear. Like, they're building up to be number one. They're being very, very straight up about that. So it's a very unnerving time. As far as folks out in the audience, thank you guys. Thank you, everybody that just popped in. Kat, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. It says on set. Hey, and then Callie, nice to see you. Thank you for the super sticker. Truck This Garage says, Marf inspired me to start my channel. Although it is quite different from content from his, seeing him go from videos in his car to full-time YouTuber gives me hope it is still possible. Thanks, Adam. Truck This Garage, you should always have hope that it is. And again, I would say 1,000 videos and just do them. Doesn't matter what you do. You're going to have 1,000 bad videos before you even get the knack of it. And I think that that's the problem that a lot of people have is they give up too fast, or they think because they don't immediately have thousands of people that they're not doing it right, or that I see people that get 30 subs and subscriptions, and they think that they're already censored. It's not that. You just got to keep putting out videos. Each video is its own monster. Each video is separate from the rest, and each video is like putting out an independent runner that's running towards the finish line. So remember that. It's not about the whole channel. It's about each video. All right, and then And D Live. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody that is over on D Live. I appreciate all of you guys that just popped in. Johnson, thank you so much. I appreciate the diamond. Says Foogle fam, love to all. Keep it going. Hey, well, thank you. And appreciate that. Pocoloco, Kimbria, and of course, Skyhouse. Thank you. Scooby Doo Do Right, and the end is near. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. All right. And let's go back to the map, and Europe turns to conscription as a threat of a wider war with Russia grows. So, Dex, this is expanding on I'll have you cover this since you were hinting towards this earlier. What is this all about?
Well, yeah, again, talking about the buildup of potential war in Europe against Russia, one of the things that, and this is coming specifically some quotes here from the head of the Euro-Asia Research on Foreign Policy and Research Institute, who served as a U.S. Army officer for 30 years. He says, we're coming to the realization that we may have to adjust the way we mobilize for war and adjust the way we produce military equipment and the way we recruit and train personnel. It's tragically true that here we are in 2024 and we are grappling with the question of how to mobilize millions, listen to that, millions of people to be thrown into a meat grinder of a war potentially. But this is where Russia has put us. So given this, they talk about specifically how a lot of the European countries, which we've actually covered as each one of these has happened, has started to increase or expand their conscription. Latvia is the latest to implement conscription. Compulsory military service was reintroduced on January this year after being abolished in 2006. Male citizens will be put up for the draft within 12 months of reaching the age 18 or graduation after. So that's just one example they go through. They talk about a handful of the other countries in there. And I would also remind us, like it's real easy to sort of, we don't really worry about it. It's happening over in Europe. We're here in the States. That doesn't matter. Well, I'll remind you, if you go back to the Defense Act that they were passing for the next budget, there was going to be a change in our own conscription, or in what we call the draft. They were going to change the ages, and they were going to make it a not just mandatory, but automatic registration, which doesn't happen today. And they're even considering, and this is the argument going on right now on both sides, adding women in and making sure that women are included in the draft, as they say, and that's their term. So if you don't think that when this conflict comes about that we're not going to need a draft, I'm talking about everybody that's part of the West's alliance, all of the NATO alliance, all of the what would be a Pacific NATO alliance that doesn't really exist, but all of the allies we have in the Pacific, and the U.S. itself doesn't have to somehow institute a draft to fulfill the body count needed for this type of conflict, then you're not paying attention, because it's coming. They're setting the stage. They've been putting the things in place. Countries have already enacted rules. We're even trying to expand ours so that we can re-ramp it up. Yes. Get ready, folks.
And another part that's in here, and I don't believe you covered this part, but it says, now we've got a war in Europe that we never thought we would see again, said Clark, who led NATO forces during the Kosovo War. Says whether this is a new Cold War or an emerging hot war is unclear, but it's very imminent warning to NATO that we've got to rebuild our defenses. So basically saying we are not prepared as is. And that's why you're seeing it build up. You're seeing it go from 300,000 to 500,000, that now they're coming up with a plan to bring in 800,000 in a month time. And just to clarify earlier, because I think someone was a bit confused with the wording, in less than a month they would do this, not in 1 month from now, but in less than 1 month they would bring 800,000 through those areas. This is all going down. My friends and family members, by the way, finally, some of the people that I talked to years ago, and the same ones that gave me so much crap and they would make fun at barbecues and things like that, those same people are now hitting us up. So, and I'm sure you guys are experiencing this too. A lot of the people that you talked about all of these events kind of unfolding in the exact order that they're happening right now, all of them are going to start calling you. All of them are going to start asking like, hey, I actually want to put my foot in my mouth. What should I do about this? Just understand that right now, people are going to start getting the drift. That's why right now you need to have your plan solidified, and also you can make the decision on your own whether you're going to tell people you're a prepper or you have stuff, because honestly, a lot of preppers, they don't let people know they've got stuff, because if this does go down, I guarantee you're going to see the pastor down the street turn into a robber. You're going to see the nicest guy across the street end up being, a burglar. So like this stuff, everybody's going to come to you first. So just be ready for that. And some people say, I'm going to bring everybody I can and every friend and family I can, I'm going to try to take care of. But when it comes down to it, I think that a lot of people are actually going to change that. And I think a lot of people in spirit and in thought want to say that they're going to take care of everybody. And if you are one of those people, then keep that in mind too. Keep that, think about how much you have, and do you actually have enough to survive 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years? Because that is what preppers are prepping for right now. 2 years might seem like a lot to us, and it will be. It will be hell on earth. But to the bigger picture, if they need to roll in a different system entirely, it's going to take 2 years to basically break down everything and rebuild. In their eyes, they're going to be safe through that whole 2 years. They're going to be in their $270 million mansions. They are going to be completely in their own world. And after it's done, they are going to own all of us. Understand that. If this all goes down the way that everyone is saying it will be, then trust me, all of these people at the very, very top, they will not be affected by this. They will get a heads up. They will know beforehand, and they will be taking a trip. Like Leave the World Behind, it's almost like the best you can hope for is a heads up. But sadly, I think that we've all been getting very, very obvious cues and very obvious heads up. I mean, look at the freaking golden passports being sold right now. People are buying backup passports. The richest and most informed people in the world are building bunkers. It's not an accident. And then Pentagon's Arctic strategy emphasizes space and satellite capabilities. The Department of Defense released its 2024 Arctic strategy addressing the increasing geopolitical and environmental challenges in the Arctic region. The strategy, which directs the U.S. military to build readiness for operations at high latitudes, emphasizes the increased reliance on satellites for critical activities in the Arctic. As the Great Change reshapes the region's landscape and geopolitical dynamics, the Pentagon is calling on investments in space-based capabilities to enhance communications, intelligence gathering, and monitoring activities. So they're calling for even more money, more weapons, more space gear, which I know that everybody's got an inner debate about this, but one thing is for sure, money is going out the door, and they're saying it's going towards this. Of course, the United States views the Arctic region as one of the strategic power competition in light of Russia's significant presence and efforts by China to expand its influence there, which we've talked about for years. There's whole channels dedicated to what is going on up in the Arctic regions. A key trend highlighted in the document is China's ambition to expand its footprint in the Arctic through infrastructure investments and an increased military presence. Additionally, Russia's military capabilities in the Arctic pose potential threats to the U.S. and its allies. The strategy notes Russia's collaboration with China in the region is on the rise, further complicating the security landscape. DoD points out the role of the Arctic in missile warning and defense of the U.S. homeland, while the current network of U.S. and Canadian radars and sensors operated by NORAD and U.S. enables the detection of tracking of certain threats. Modernization is needed, including space-based missile warning and observational systems with greater polar coverage. They're basically saying what we have right now is not good enough. They cannot warn us on some things. A perfect example of that is when China launched a hypersonic missile, which then secondly launched a hypersonic object. Physics professors and experts in the field could not understand it. They said that it actually went against basic physics. They said they didn't know how they did it, to get a hypersonic craft up and then to launch another hypersonic craft or object or glider from that hypersonic vehicle. They didn't know how they did it. And by the way, it went around the world. It came up from underneath where we didn't have sensors. It hit its target before we even knew it happened. We didn't know until afterwards, and China ended up not only flexing that, but also saying they got within like 20 miles of their target. That should be waking people up in itself, and it should have woke you up 2-3 years ago when all of this went down. But again, there's just more and more signs that something massive is coming. I mean, we've already seen these massive events. Our former president was got taken out. All these things are happening right now. Dex, as far as they know that this is an important place, as far as if they have space-based things up there. Another thing though is could all that stuff be taken down with China and Russia's new technology?
Well, yeah, I think that's part of the concern. The problem is this is the North. This is the Northern Pole. What they're not talking about is what are we doing to protect ourselves from the South, which has always been our weakness, because we've always just said, hey, let's worry about what comes across the North, because that's the closest direction in which an attack would come from, because the shortest path would be to go across the pole from, say, Russia's land to our land. And that is why it is obviously guarded. But the sneak attack is what we've talked about with FOBS, Fractional Orbital Bombardment System, which is to launch what looks like a space launch, bring it around the South Pole, and come up over South America looking like a space launch. And it just comes around, and because it's coming from the south, where we don't protect, we don't look for hardly anything right now, it would sneak right in. And of course, they talk about that specifically. They've talked a lot about that with an EMP, but it goes hand in hand with a nuke deployment, anything hypersonic deployment, because it would be moving fast like an orbital object that was put up into space. And that's what you got to worry about. Now, as far as this particular area in the north is concerned, we have the base. They're talking specifically about the base. The personnel is based at Clear Space Force Station in Central Alaska, which is home to the Solid State Phased Array radar system. And then there's also a base in Pituffik Space Base, which is located in the northwestern coast of Greenland, which is actually the most remote outpost they have in a strategic location well above the Arctic Circle. So those two locations serve as a critical link for space operations and polar communications.
Max Kammerer, nice to see you. Tracy Q, Curb Creeper, LOL. Marshmallow, St. Louis, Saul DePaul. They'll enter at New Orleans or Mexico. Fear not magic, but a sharpened stick. Mitch Mouth, what is happening? Joe is a goner. Christine Zagorski. There's so much stuff, crazy stuff going on right now. And think about this. Most of it is going to be planned distraction, something that we all knew was going to come. It's all happening as it's supposed to. So I think the biggest hurdle that people are going to get over is the fact that they think that no matter how elite and how up there people are, that people have a conscience. That nobody is ever going to do something so horrific that it would hurt so many people. They think, oh, everybody's got this conscience. Have you met some of these people? They don't want to be around you. They will not be seen around you. They do not go to the same stores. They do not go to the same places. They have somebody down, even the people that are their servants, they would not associate themselves with you. They believe they are better than you. Those people do their shopping and do all of their things. They are not seen in public in these places. That's why TMZ, these celebrities we think are these rich people, but they're not. They're just popular people. They're not the rich people. They're not the billionaire, whatever. That's why you don't really see Jay-Z much often. He's a billionaire. That's why you don't see the billionaire status. Those people are on the low. They can be, because they can actually, if they don't want to be seen, they won't be seen. If they want to be seen, they will. But celebrities, they're in the millions down here, okay? We're talking about in the billions, and who knows, possibly the trillions that are unlisted. Those people will be completely safe through all of this craziness. So just keep that in mind. I think that that people think that they won't sacrifice the world's safety for a couple years to completely take over 100% control. I think they would. Especially there's a lot of things baked into society right now that they cannot change without a big, big change. Dex, will you go over the Air Force moves F-16 fighter squadrons closer to North Korea?
Well, here we go. We've talked quite a bit about Europe, but let's not forget what's going on in the Pacific. We've certainly covered in the past recent days, the events happening down in the Philippines, but we've got to also pay attention to North and South Korea. And in this particular instance, we're taking 9 F-16s and repositioning them into a base there in which is about 115 miles southwest of Seoul. It is the 8th Fighter Wing at Kunsan Air Base, and it will be assigned for a year-long trial to the 36th Fighter Squadron at the Osan Air Base. So this is now putting more equipment, specifically F-16s, in the region for what's going to potentially pop off with North Korea. And I say that because we've watched the actions and activities of Kim Jong-un at the border, building up walls, cleaning out paths, sending in troops to do stuff in the DMZ, and even losing lives over it because they're stepping on old mines that are there. They're potentially laying in new mines, but one of the things they're doing is opening up clearings so they have a better view and can see from a defensive position what they can strike. At least that's what the military analysts are saying. We've seen all of those actions. We've seen the continuous escalation of launching threats. Of course, there's the balloons and the poopy diapers, but that I guess you can survive. It's the shelling and potential rockets that are much more damaging that you need to be concerned about, because that is obviously a point that when it kicks off, and I wholeheartedly believe that North Korea is going to be used as part of this effort to start a distraction in the north in the Pacific, while something goes on in the Philippines and the south in the Pacific that makes it real easy for China to swoop in 30 minutes or less, like Domino's Pizza, and take over Taiwan. It's the trigger. That's what's going to happen. So when you see that action happen, expect something to happen with Taiwan.
It's going to be the trigger to the bigger weapon. I think otherwise I don't think they would even involve North Korea because it is an important military alliance, and it's an important buffer zone between South Korea and North Korea. And South Korea is just as much going to be a part of this whole thing, and Taiwan, Japan, all of these Asian nations are all going to get pulled into this as well. This is going to be big. We're watching and living throughout history. This is going to be absolutely mind-boggling crazy. If you thought being locked down in your house for a few months was crazy, just wait. It's gonna get crazy. Again, Kat, thank you. Bay Area Believer, Stephen McMahon, Paul Wilson, thank you so much for your support this week. I appreciate that. Human Tiger 72, thank you so much for the super chat. Jeff Crawford, Lola Cafe, Terry Quinn, Gillian Mason, Andrea O'Neill, thank you. Old Combat Vet, hopefully you're doing well. James Zippy Moons, hopefully you are good. Watching the replay if you're not here. And then Stephen McMahon, hopefully, I don't know if you've already had to go off to work, but thank you for your support this week. Kelly Josie, Neil Nelson, of course, thank you as well for the super thanks yesterday or the day before. And then Lisa Douglas, I hope you are doing well. Hope you're recovering. And Wings and Wags Patriot, thank you for your support this week. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. If you don't have backup antibiotics, if everything goes down, if the internet even goes down, if we lose communications, they're not going to be able to fulfill any kind of prescription at the pharmacy, let alone if the hospitals will be working or any of that. If worst case scenario happens, though, this is a big deal. Even if it's not worst case scenario, say you have a storm or a Hurricane Katrina type situation or an earthquake, having antibiotics could be the difference between life and death. And that's as straight up as you can be about it. As far as a tiny cut on your finger could turn into a disastrous event. It could turn into gangrene or something else. Again, go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace. You can actually get a Jace case, which is a kit of all of the standard antibiotics. It comes with almost all of the main ones. And you can even add things like albuterol and even other things that you had a harder time with before. And then also go check out the Jace Daily. That is something that's really good if you're a caregiver or have somebody in the family that has a daily medication. You can get a 12-month supply of their medication, and that way the second everything goes off, you have a year of your medication and you know you have it. So very, very, very smart thing to do in any kind of disaster. Being able to have either one of those is a huge, huge deal. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jace, Jase, and make sure to use the code MARF. And then let's go into how the CrowdStrike outage and by the way, back to Jace for 2 seconds. There was a hack about it 2 months ago, why we picked up Jace in the first place, and that knocked out 30,000 pharmacies across the country. Foogle fam kept messaging us. They're saying, hey, what do we do? Like, none of the pharmacies in my town can even fill my stuff. Like, how can I prevent this? How do you guys get your antibiotics? How do you get this? So that is why we ended up picking up Jace in the first place. So something like that it's a very, it hasn't happened all the time. And we are just so used to have everything go back online. But one of these days, it might not. And that is what preppers prep for. And I'm sure throughout the years, preppers who have prepped for they thought it was the end of the world 10 years ago. They most likely were set up during an event they didn't expect. So say 10 years ago, 2010, people think, oh, the world is ending in 2012. In 2012, say a storm or a flood happens, that prep food that they prepped for the end of the world ended up saving them through a regular earthquake or a tornado. So that's the best thing about it, is once you've prepped for everything. So the CrowdStrike event carved out new opportunities for hackers. In the wake of a scathing U.S. government report that faulted Microsoft for having a security culture that let Chinese hackers access the inboxes of top federal officials last year, CrowdStrike used the findings to leverage and promote its own cybersecurity services as safer alternatives. Quote, considering Microsoft, it's your adversary's favorite target, says a webpage advertising. Microsoft securities products can't even protect Microsoft. How can they protect you? It says the bold claim seemingly backfired when a faulty patch rolled out by CrowdStrike early Friday morning inadvertently crippled Microsoft-run devices around the world. The outages, which are still being remedied, hit as many as 8.5 million computers, Microsoft said in a Saturday blog post. Compared to last year's Chinese email hack, which targeted select federal government Microsoft Exchange inboxes, Friday's outages were wider ranging, more impactful, and had real-time consequences that experts say have laid groundwork for future hacking schemes and scarred CrowdStrike's reputation as a star player in the eyes of federal regulators. So listen to the undertone of this. They are telling us, they are putting it there, that this is set up, and this is basically given others a game plan, and they've realized that this one thing can basically knock out all of these different events. They're not going to be able to fix this. There is no overnight fix. There is absolutely no overnight fix to this. The same event can happen again, only it can be permanent. It could be somewhat permanent or indefinite. So there could be something that in coordination with other things could knock it out for a very long time. Not to mention, it talks about that previous hack. Why was China getting into those federal inboxes? Why did solar winds happen, which they did not mention? All of these things are leading up to something. What are we being warned about? What did the W and the E and the F warn about before they warned about a cyber event across the planet? They warned about the event that happened, the CVE. That thing that happened to us in 2019, that they warned about. They did framework for. Other agencies like the W and the H and the O put out actual graphs of how this future demic was going to affect the world months before. Now they're telling us that this has now just opened the door. It hasn't closed any doors. It's opened them. Dex, they've basically said this is set up. Now they've seen it in real world application.
Well, and what's important here is also that now it's turned into what's called a hacker's haven, in the sense that, as the author put it, there has now been a whole secondary hacking opportunities that have been leveraged by cyber criminals, where they are reaching out. And this came from CISA and DHS, or the CISA, which is within the DHS, put it out in a blog post over the weekend, that even they found hackers in Latin America who are targeting customers, sending out a message with a folder in it dubbed CrowdStrike hotfix.zip, making it look like, hey, this is the fix you need, run it on your computer and it will fix your CrowdStrike issue, which of course, these are people that are just pulling their hair out going, oh my gosh, I can't get my job done. We're losing money. Everything's a problem. What do I do to fix this? And it's easy to be blinded and think that the message you're getting is legit and it's the fix to your problem, and you install it. And in reality, the code, if executed, lets hackers infiltrate the victim's machines by secretly injecting malicious code into the core functions of Windows. And the cycle continues. And this is, it is a big deal. And also the other point they're making is that it's also going to, and this is what I said last week, I said this is going to scare people. It's going to scare them away from using the tech. And I'm not going to sit here and say CrowdStrike's the only thing out there and you got to use it. But if all of a sudden people go, you know what, it really screwed us a lot, we're just not going to use it anymore. But are they even going to do something else? And does that leave them vulnerable? And does that make it easier for hackers to then get in? Or do they go to something that's less secure, that causes more and more hacking to start happening again, which then drives people back into solutions that try to prevent them? So yeah, this has huge ramifications into the global technology space as this happened. And I know there's lots of questions about, how it happened and, what's really behind it. But yeah.
Question. So when this, because you're a techie, it says ish happens. The thing is that usually when ish happens, it doesn't get pushed to production. What did they mean by that? By when they push that's okay. So in the software development world, you have what's called quality assurance. So you may develop a piece of code. In this case, what they were doing is saying updating. They call it content. They're updating basically like information for their software to find the bad guys or prevent the bad guys from coming in. So they found this new bug or this new loophole, kind of like a virus, right? And they send out the information to all of the computers out there so they can now be protected. Well, when the developers write that code or write that definition or that content that describes it, before they put it out, they test it. They test it on various versions of Windows, various different types of machines. They run it through numerous testing and scenarios to make sure nothing bad happens. And that's called quality assurance. And once it passes the QA testing, then it's appropriate to start pushing out. And some companies are smart. They may do staged push outs where they'll push a little bit of the code out to smaller amounts of customers, make sure nothing catastrophic happens, and then push it to the rest. Some just push it all at once, send it to them all and let everybody get what's coming in. But it should have been tested. You should have known this was going to happen. They could have pushed this.
The breakdown is.
They could have pushed this to 25 computers first, and seen this happen.
Yeah, they could have. They could have staged. They could have randomly picked a small chunk of their customers and sent it to them, and then made sure everything was hunky dory the next day, and then sent it to the rest. In theory, though, they should have actually tested it themselves and saw the problem. That's where the real issue is. How does a software development company get to this point where they didn't test something? And I'm sure they did test it. How did this problem sneak by their testers? Which leads me to believe there's something more malicious here.
Because it didn't. There's no way. They're dealing with government agencies. They're dealing with this. They have checks and balances. Wouldn't you agree that these companies have a checklist of things they do before they do it, so they don't make mistakes, so they don't lose their reputation?
They have these huge quality assurance rule sets that they follow. They have written tests that they run through. But what I'm fearful of, and now he came right out and said this is not a cyber issue, but what I'm fearful of is if somebody was able to create a bug or a virus or whatever you want to call it, a hack, into code that's going to be deployed to all of these computers, but was smart enough to make it so that it couldn't be detected by the quality assurance, but would reveal itself once it got to the public.
What if
That is a very interesting thought, and of course, we're never going to know, but that would be a new way for this infiltration.
Wait, I don't know if you're saying the same thing, but what if this was not the event, that during this, something secretive was put in with that? They reset it, they get rid of CrowdStrike, they restart it, but yet now there's something dormant and laying in wait. Is that possible?
I mean, we saw that happen with SolarWinds, where there was a capability that was rolled out to everybody who had SolarWinds, and all of a sudden this back door opened up for everyone. So that's another version of it. In that case, nobody knew anything bad had happened. They were just sitting dormant for 6, 8, 12 months before people realized that they had this, the back door was unlocked and wide open. So,
what if, now just hypothetically, what if two companies got together, the company that's affected, Microsoft, and the company that this whole event happened, they're competitors, they're on each other's. What if for some reason, I don't know, both of them have huge investors or people that are part of this whole big thing that's changing the world? What if they teamed up? And so every tech person, they're going off of what they know off of Microsoft and off of security stuff. So every IT guy that goes in and fixes, they don't see something that's baked into the program that's hidden from the manufacturer. What if there was something hidden in there on both ends of this? Say the virus went in with this, hypothetically, a virus is hidden in the update. The virus then goes into a box, which also has basically a virus intake that holds onto it and hides it on purpose. And then when IT goes in, they delete it, they do this, all of a sudden now it's there, it's hidden. And it's hidden in a basically a little tiny closet that they actually placed there for it to hide, that no one would ever be able to know about. That would be even a scarier thing, is if everybody was in on it.
Yeah, that's the ultimate hack. If you can hack the software development company and infiltrate their code such that you can get yourself lying in dormant in the future and distributed through their software to the world, you have basically walked right in the front door on a red carpet, which is very similar to what we saw with SolarWinds. And that is sort of, I wouldn't call it the Holy Grail, but it's much bigger than, say, trying to get everybody to click on a phishing email, or making them think that something is something else when they're clicking on it, right?
Yeah, somebody says Linux is looking really good right now, but again, doesn't matter. You might have your Linux computer, but everything around you, including all of the pharmacies, the hospitals, the 911 systems, all of that doesn't. So when everything goes down, you may have personally been like, I'm glad I didn't go with Microsoft. But on the other hand, when you go to the grocery store that's now shut down because the entire supply chain is down, because everything is down, infrastructure is down, gas is down, water is down, water infrastructure is down. That's so terrifying. Everything now switched over to digital, telecommunications, banks, everything is screwed up. You can't go get money out of the ATM. Whatever this was, a lot of people are really leery that trial run. What if this was just part one of part two? This is A and B. This is part A, part B. That's a super scary thought, but that's why we prep. Highly recommended. Skyson High, is something wrong with Skyson High? So you say prayers to Skyson High. Are they okay?
Surgery tomorrow.
Oh, I'm praying for you too, Skyson. You've been here a long time. Thank you, Skyson, for being here, and hopefully everything goes well, and I'm sure it will. And then JB drops out of the race 2024 and endorses Harris, but technically they just put that on a letter. What's crazy is he didn't do a video now, but he did a call. He sounded at least well enough to do a short 10-second video saying, hey, I'm dropping out and I think she's going to do a great job. I'm going to get better and this and that, and I'll be back in a week. But he didn't. So a lot of people are really, really worried that something else may have happened. And I don't know if that's the case. Maybe it's how much it looks like something happened. No seal on the letter that was put out. It was only put out through X. I'm missing a couple things here. Oh, and then nobody, it hasn't been seen. All of these things put together, and the fact that just a couple days ago he said he's absolutely running, that he's not going to step down. All of these things don't really sit right with everybody. So I think maybe it's so obvious that they're making it look like that, so people do question it, and then when he pops out, everything's all good, and maybe he'll look healthy or something, and everybody will go, oh, cool. But right now, people are demanding, hey, if you're not fit to do the next one, you're not fit to do this one. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's almost 5 days now since we last saw him, and that was when he was getting into a limousine from the plane. And even when you watch that, he doesn't look good at all. Like, because they tell us he had the sieve, right? He struggled to get into the car, struggled to get to the seat. It was pretty bad, and you could just tell he was weak. And so, yeah, everybody's like, where is he? What's going on? Now, we heard that audio today, but even people are questioning that now. And it doesn't, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. If the questions are out there, it bothers me because I worry about what do our adversaries think is happening with our country right now, and how weak are we when it comes to something about being able to respond. And is this an opportunistic time for something to go down, whether it be something small or something large? And they look for that when your enemy is weak. That's the time to strike.
How does this graph work here? So it says predict it. Why is, if this is like who they predict is going to be the person, why is Newsom only 6? Is that how little people know that he's totally going to be it? I think somehow he's going to pop right in. Yeah, if not the prez, the VP.
Yeah, he endorsed her today or yesterday.
Something just seems wrong with this.
It's funny. Everybody has endorsed her except for O. O has said, no, we'll let it be open. We'll see what happens. So the most powerful person on that side of the political spectrum
has not.
But everybody else,
Barack.
including, Mr. Barack, including Pelosi and others, all of them have said, even Gretchen, Newsom, they've all put their hat in for the VP.
The thing is on both sides. The thing is as far as what I talked about earlier, the popular game, she's not popular on either side. That's the thing. There might be a couple that think she's genuinely like a nice person or whatever, but if the people that have looked at her record as she's the kind of person that can go into any room and you think, oh, that's just a nice person, that's a nice woman. The stuff that she's done, I can't imagine. Can you even see her like cussing somebody out? I don't think I don't know. I guess I could. Could you see her? She has that appearance, and I know that's probably not the reality. All of these people, I just heard a clip of a congresswoman talking to her aides. I don't know if this is something that is viral because it's recent, but this woman was talking to her aides and cussing them out and saying they were idiots and just the stupidest people on the planet. It sounded so nasty. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was a black woman congresswoman, and I can't remember her name, but she was screaming and yelling at her aides on the phone, and it was just the nastiest conversation I've ever heard. And it's like publicly they don't do that, right? I wonder what she is like outside of all of this. She got to VP. She must be. I mean, you only get to those positions if you're kind of cutthroat. Just my opinion.
Yeah, most narcissistic power-playing people like that have one face to the public, which serves them to get where they're going, and has exactly what you described behind the scenes, and they rule with an iron fist, and they're pretty nasty. And yeah,
or they'll do exactly what you say. If you want it done, they're done. Maybe she's academic. She can get it done. She'll do she was one doing your homework. Like, she'll get it done, and she won't tell us. She's not a snitch or something. I don't know. Like, But the thing is when you look at social media, you could tell who's going to win already. First of all of the memes and everything, and people don't realize how powerful memes are. That's the reason why they started going after memes. That's why algorithms started looking at memes and images over video and all of this. Now with AI especially, every day there's 50 videos that come out that are ingenious, comedic videos, but they're all positive for our former president. They're all negative for her. They were all negative for JB. It affects opinion. It really does. When you see everyone around you is making fun of somebody, the general thing is people they go, oh, that person's not cool. And they don't want to be caught out. Nobody wants to be that one person that pops out and go, you know what? I don't care what anybody says. I think she's awesome. Nobody does that anymore. Like, I personally, nobody calls out anybody that's on the right side for being grandstanders and all these. I don't see people like actually speaking their mind when they see fakeness and truth on either respective side. Like, I think we should call out all BS everywhere, wherever we see it. But I see that, people are going to jump on the bandwagon, and the bandwagon shows it's very clear. Even people on the left are now saying after that whole event with T-Man barely getting hit, now people are switching. And that shouldn't be a reason to switch either. Just because a thing missed him, that shouldn't be your all of a sudden new reason why you're picking that person. You should be picking that person because you believe in the values, and we should be, all picking a person based on what we think should be the best for our country. But that's not how it works. It's a popularity game. And we know who's winning right now. I mean, it's savage. Gosh, the AI videos that they're putting out, I'm surprised they're even legal. They are so savage. They're so real too. Like, and now they can combine fake voice, which the stuff we covered years ago is now regular just every day, and they can do video to match that. It's insanity. I don't even know how we're ever going to believe in anything we see on TV. Dex, remember when you could watch video evidence and that was evidence? How are we going to do that now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, the meme videos of Biden where they make a joke about him saying something, right? They're real. They look so real, right? They sound, and even the ones that are video-like, they look like they've been, like if you didn't know it was a joke, because they're so over the top. They're funny, right? But when you're watching, you're like, holy wow, that's just incredible. It looks like he's really saying that. And it certainly sounds like him. And we're not talking about let's just chop up his words and piece them together like they used to do in the old days. This is like AI doing it all. And yeah, it's hard to tell. And that's why people even question now. That's why they question what was brought forward today as the real deal. And now people want to question that because the comedy fakes that are out there are so real-like.
There's a clip here, and she's supposedly talking to Joe on the phone. People have already taken this clip, exactly taken that, and then had JB, his exact voice, even it sounds like him on the phone, because they can copy exactly the phone, the inclination, anything. They can copy her voice, anybody's voice. They've already made him say, I don't want to go, don't hang up on me. Like they've made these fake clips, and it looks just as real as the real one. It sounds just as real. It's so insane what is happening right now. This is why things are about to change massively. If you think this kind of tech can rear its head and we're not about to go through an absolute world-changing event, then you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Tudutika, I always messed up your name. Takudika. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, I think at this point JB's alive or has been told someone else followed him to better. The acting I've seen in recent speeches is terrible. Takudika. A lot of people are thinking that, and that's why I think that it's almost so obvious that it's not going to be true, because it's so that's what it looks like. Why did they not do a seal on the thing? Why didn't they do this? Why is this signature weird? All of that kind of stuff. Stephen Click says, doesn't CrowdStrike seem like completely horrible name for this? They certainly have struck the crowd. Seems like a sinister name out of a movie. It does. I mean, when you think of the names for these things, it doesn't make any sense. By the way, somebody made a comment about McAfee And earlier, and I missed that comment, but McAfee, he talked about a lot of this stuff going down years ago, and he said that, you know, this is very well what could happen right before he, you know, people don't know if he's actually perished or not. People question it because it's McAfee. Hey there, Adam and Dex, and God bless you all. Paul Chidium, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chat. All right, and then again, if you haven't already, go check out Energy. If you are looking to get a generator in general, highly recommend. If you haven't looked into solar, this is the best solar generator on the market, in my opinion. And the reason why is it's expandable, it's modular, it's built like a tank. It can be altered and changed based on what you need. If you need to add a feature, you can add a brick, just like Lego, and actually add that feature. If you want to triple the input, so say instead of 4 panels, you want 12, you can do that. This thing has built-in heaters in every battery for extreme cold temperatures. It has 1,500-pound latch system. It's got a steel reinforced frame. This is made, again, to fall off the back of a truck and keep working. It is reliable. That is why the Army just picked it for the STTR Phase 2 contract. If you want the same reliability and toughness, then you want to go with this. Now, I'm not going to say that the only downside is that it is going to take a minute. But I will say this. There might be one you can get on Monday that does something similar, but it's not going to be the same. I guarantee it. If you look at anything that is doing the exact same thing as this, modular, expandable, you can add up to 96 batteries, that kind of thing. If you look at the actual people that are making it, then look at that name, then look at who they're a front for. That's my biggest advice to you, is go look, because you don't want something on SHTF day that you turn on and 2 days later it's remote controlled and turned off. And that's what the worry is with a bunch of the other ones. Again, make sure to go check this out. I do believe in this. I use this. I've used it camping. I've used it for tailgating. I've used it for for using construction tools out where I don't have an extension cord. They're silent. Nobody's going to know you have it. Your pastor burglar down the street won't know you even have power going. That's how quiet it is. Marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Dex, thank you so much for everything you do.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Thank you, Togodika. I think I just said it right, finally. Thank you to all of our mods. Make sure to go check them out at marfooglenews.com/friends. You have so many great people here, so make sure to utilize this page, marfooglenews.com/friends, and go check them out. Wages is now covering all of the solar events, and again, tons of great videos, deep dives over on Trinities. Of course, Leah's got great stuff. Rip Curl, he's always trying to put out something different and unique, of course, and so many more. CJ Blaze, the whole crew. And then, of course, Bones has all of his sites there, and Chance has his books over on Amazon. Go help them out and go show some love. All right, Dex, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And everybody else, love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. Just say tuck pup, Marf. Much love, brother. That was much easier. Have a good night.
From looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse from Marfoogle News. Where